All right. We'll start today with student athletes from Iowa. From left to right, we have Lucy Olsen and Syd Affolter. We'll now open it up to questions. Right here.
Jack Birmingham, Daily Iowan. For either of you or both of you to answer, what is one thing that you guys are looking to do specifically, besides obviously advance in tomorrow's game against Oklahoma, especially with this one being maybe a little personal with Coach Baranchik from Iowa, and there's a lot weighing on this game maybe.
Lucy, will let you start and then go to Sydney.
Yeah, I think winning is definitely the main goal, but I think just playing our game, like focusing on ourselves and making sure that we get better every day and that we're really sticking with the game plan.
Yeah, we're going to handle it just like any other game, and we know how good we are. We've been playing some pretty good basketball, so just having that confidence and knowing that we should be in this game and we can compete with anyone.
Right here, up front.
It's OKC Sports Radio. I'm curious what you guys think about Oklahoma. They do have a unique style in that they're always up and down. They get shots up quickly and things like that. I know you played some teams like that this year, but talk about the matchup and how you guys see the matchup with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think luckily we just played Murray State, who also does the same thing, so that kind of prepared us in the Big Ten. Plays pretty fast, so we've had a lot of games up and down, and we know it's a game of runs, but throughout our season, we've had a lot of different situations, so I think we're ready for anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're a great team. We give all the respect to them, but like you said, they like to push the ball, but we also like to push the ball and get up and down, so it'll definitely be a fast-paced game, and we're excited.
Cliff?
Cliff Brunt, Associated Press. So my question is about dealing with Reagan Beers, because obviously, I mean, you guys are guards, obviously, but, she's quite a force inside. And I know you guys got some bigs, too. How do you, I guess, look to slow her down, because she can really get it going for them?
Yeah, she's definitely a really tough player. We've talked about her a lot. I think it's nice that we have a couple of bigs that will be able to give different looks on her. Yeah, like last game, Hannah got in foul trouble, but we had Ava step up. So we have a bunch of different threats that I think just giving her different looks will be helpful.
Yeah, just being physical with her. I mean, she's a big post, so you can't just let her go where she wants. But I think all of our posts have done a great job at that, and we know that they like to offensive rebound as well, so making sure we put a body on someone and box out.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nice, thanks.
All right, we're now joined by the head coach from Iowa, and we'll open it up to questions for head coach Jan Jensen. Right up front.
Jan, Jack Birmingham, Daily Iowan. Obviously, and I've asked Oklahoma's coach about this as well, this game's going to be probably like a good way, but a little bit personal. You've got a program veteran in her own right now coaching the opposing team for a chance to go to the Sweet 16. She said, obviously, all great things about you, the Iowa program. I'd assume it's mutual, but I don't know what's kind of going through your mind as this is probably going to be the most close to home matchup that you guys have played this year, except maybe Drake. So what does it feel like?
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is Jenny and I aren't playing one-on-one, right? I think there's a lot of questions about, I'm not going to say who'd win if we played one-on-one. I still got something in my bag, Jenny. Just tell her that. But I think, I think that's part of the storyline of, seems like the NCAA always likes the storylines. But, I would prefer to be cheering for her, and I think she would be doing the same way, the same thing. You'd like to think, I believe in our, the teams that we've coached when I was part of Lisa Bluter's staff, and what I'm continuing, I hope, is we have that saying, once a Hawk, always a Hawk. And I believe that Jenny really feels that way. So I think she's proud of that, but she's also an amazing coach, right? Look at the success she's had. One of the most competitive, fiery, never going to back down kids that I've ever coached, right? So she's really good. She can separate all that. She's not a nostalgic or sentimentalist. She's just going to get after it and go. But with that saying, you know, I think she's really proud that she's from Iowa. So I think the only thing is one of us is going to have a really fun moment, right? We're going to go to the Sweet 16, and that's great. But I think exactly what she said is that I would assume it's been good, and I think it's accurate. That's the only drawback is we both would have rather been there, right? But when the ball goes up, I mean, it's been a long time since she's been in an Iowa Hawkeye uniform, right? So I think it'll be, you know, a really good game, and I think it'll be competitive, hopefully. They got a lot of size I got to contend with, but we'll get to that later. But I'm really proud of her. All of our former players, whether they're a doc right now or they're in law or whatever, it's fun to watch them grow and succeed. And so it's Lisa Bluter would feel the same way. It's really cool. So you know, you always have those bonds that are established when you get to coach these amazing young women, and she's certainly a shining star. Right here.
James Hale, MK Sports Radio. I've watched you guys play quite a bit. You know, the Sooners' style of play, I'm curious. Talk about that, because we're going to talk about their size. They do have great size, yet they love to get up and down the court, too. So talk about this matchup.
Yeah, well, you know, Jenny, she's always liked to score a lot of points, right? And we typically do as well. But her pace of play is number one in the country. She's going to go, and she's got everybody on the floor can usually pull it and shoot a three at a pretty good percentage. And she has, you know, bigs that can do that too. And that's always harder when you got a couple of her bigs that can stop and hit a trail three, or if you decide not to guard them. I mean, they're able to hit it if, you know, they get on. Even, you know, Reagan is one of those beers. So that's one thing, you know, their system, they play really, really fast. And then she's added some really good portal pieces, right? Beers, I recruited the heck out of Beers at high school and then tried to get her in the portal. But then Jonas came along with her, and then Peyton Verhulst tried the first time when she went to Louisville, right? So added those two. Peyton plays really fast. She's one of my all-time favorite kids I recruited. So those, along with the great players that other ones I just don't know as well, I didn't recruit them. So it's really hard, because if you give them this much room, any position, they're going to pull it. And when they're on, and I thought yesterday's game was an example of that. You know, their first game, maybe they didn't hit as well, or Florida Gulf Coast was, you know, keeping it close. And then after 7 points in about 2 minutes, it was like 30. They're just so explosive. And they're explosive with size. And that's a really hard guard, really hard guard. And not just one player with size, one young woman with size. Reagan, you know, kid off the bench. We did recruit Colleton, just big, you know. So it'll be a big challenge, but we'll be giving it our best shot. Just happy I got the shot.
Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff Brunt, Associated Press.
Yeah.
You mentioned Reagan Beers. A lot of times she'll go against a team and they won't have anybody with the size to deal with her. You guys have several. You got a couple of 6'4s, a 6'2 that's very active. Your thoughts on that matchup and what you have to counter her?
Yeah, you know, I think I was, you know, hadn't watched her in person since high school. Then just when she was at Oregon State, watched and kind of like, would have been great, right? And then seeing her in person yesterday, you know, it's like with all of your centers, especially when you don't have a body, she's going to really have their way down low. But even with size, like if we put Addie O'Grady in there, she's just so good at splitting you in the middle of the paint. And when she pivots, if she gets it, you know, anywhere from that where that SEC logo is on the floor up to that charge circle, it's money. I mean, it doesn't matter. You could have three hanging on her, right? She's just so strong, and she just owns that area. So there's just different, you know, ways that we're, you know, trying to. I don't think there's anything new that she hasn't seen, right? That the SEC hasn't thrown at her. So you just probably try to limit touches. I've always liked that we've had three centers with O'Grady, Hayden, and Stalkey. They play different ways, but none of them are even remotely close in size to her. So the unfortunate thing is I have all these, but which one to go at which time, right? And that's been my $1 million question this whole year is when to counter with this, when they do that. And I'm still kind of watching some film and trying to figure out what that might look like if she gets on a tear, who I might switch out. I'm not trying to hide anything from them. I got to keep watching to see at what points in time it might be best to go with Hayden versus O'Grady.
We'll go up front.
Ryan Aber from the Oklahoman. Jen, you touched on Jenny there. What do you remember about her as a recruit and as a player, especially that transition from Drake to Iowa?
Yeah, we recruited her really hard. We were at Drake at the time when she was a senior, so rising senior. And then she chose to go to Iowa, but then our coaching staff got the job at Iowa. So I remember one of my first calls was like, hello, we get to coach you anyway, But we had a great rapport. She just was, I think she would tell you that. She, I think, enjoyed the Drake program. We were successful at the time, but just had her heart set on a Big Ten in Iowa. And so we moved over, and that freshman year, Randy Peterson-Henderson, my new coach on staff, she was a senior, and Jenny was her freshman. So they were a really good combination of 5'4". Jenny was the 4 position, and Randy was the 5. And Iowa had struggled a couple of years before, and we won the Big Ten tournament that year. And so Randy Peterson-Henderson did a great job leading that group, and Jenny was this just competitive, fiery freshman that was the perfect person to just help turn that thing. And I just remember her fight, and it's been no surprise, if you watch her, she's got that fight on the sideline, and she's going to go, and she's going to, attack anything that she feels is worth doing. She's going to give it everything she's got. So I just remember that about her. Never would back down. Nothing was ever undoable. And I think that thought process has always served her really well. Yeah.
Stay up front.
Ryan Chapman, here's on the side. You mentioned talking about Reagan with try to just limit touches. How hard is that with Jenny's style of she's not afraid to pull the bigs out, like I kind of mentioned, and get everyone the ball in any spot?
It is hard. I mean, and I'm not trying to undersell and over-deliver. I mean, everybody in the SEC or they've faced before. It's just when you're going that fast and you're trying to make transition, you're locating, right? You got to locate where Verhulst is because she'll stop and pull it right inside the March Madness logo, right? And then she can hezzy and go in on you. And then you have 4s. The 4s can shoot. Williams can post up like as strong per capita of weight or inches as Beers. So you got to be careful on her coming down in transition and just whipping and posting up your guard. I haven't watched all the teams in the SEC, but to have like a 3 position, a 4 position, and a 5 position that are all posting, in my opinion, as strong as anybody in the country, that's what makes them so hard. Because you kind of have to help sometimes on Williams when she's posting up. But if you're helping on her, they're so smart and they're going to kick it out. Or if you're just doing a typical, I'm going to sag off the weak side, they're going to skip it and they're going to hit you with Verhulst or whoever. Yesterday, is it Van or Vaughn? Van. Wow, her 3s. And she looks like she shouldn't do that, right? She's strong, and I'm just going to post up at the block. So difficult, high level. Like if you had to give the degree of difficulty to guard Oklahoma, if it was like a dive in the Olympics, you see that? Whatever the 10 is, that's it, right? And I think you just got to just try to be as solid as you can. But you can't be shocked if Reagan's going to hit like 4 in a row. If you just get down there and you can't, defend it enough that high-low look, it'll be a challenge, but it's fun, I do have some things we're going to do, but I'm not going to say it, right, to all of you. But I got some things we're going to try, but I don't think it's going to be anything new that they haven't seen. I just have a lot of respect, and I think it'd be so fun to have those 4 bigs. Holy cow, they're just really good. That high-low game's really good.
We'll stay over here to the right.
Willie Gillespie, OU Daily. Come to Norman playing. Jenny Bronchek just talked about really pushing to get the crowd out tomorrow. So what's the preparedness? What's the mindset as you play a home Sooner crowd here?
Yeah, I think, just that's the luxury of being a 4. And I would love, we've been the 4 a lot of my years as, the last recent ones. But I tell you, this particular team that I've gotten to coach, I just am so grateful that I'm here. And it's hard. I know it. But it's the Sooner people have done a great job. The NCAA, it's been a great experience, regardless of the outcome tomorrow. It's fun to play in front of fans. Yeah, I wish it was black and gold. But women's basketball, when we have great support, it's growing so much. So I hope there's a great fan base, even if a lot of them are going to be wearing, crimson. It's not red, right? Crimson and cream. I got to get that right. Don't need people yelling at me about that. But I hope they will. First and foremost, the Sooner product is really good. So hopefully that will happen. But yeah, everybody asks me, oh, do you wish you were at home? Well, yeah. But our journey has been such a special one. And me personally, when I just think about my life and all my blessings, just to get to be in the NCAA tournament and winning last night or yesterday morning was really special. I'm glad we had that locker room, and it'd be great to have another locker room. But man, I'm happy to be here, and I hope they do come out if they listen to Jenny's call.
We'll do the last one to Cliff over there.
Cliff Brown, Associated Press. So first of all, I saw your stats in high school, and wow, like
Never met a shot I didn't like. We all had our roles. I had a fun role.
But you've seen the game from there in Iowa in the 6-on-6 all the way to Caitlin Clark last year, and now being in the position you're in. With that being said, the sport's at an unprecedented point right now. Parity, people staying home, different things like that. What do you think about the possibility of this tournament expanding? Is it in the right place right now, or is it something that you see possibly being a good thing to grow from a number standpoint?
Yeah. I think that's, I appreciate you mentioning the Iowa history. If you were ever coming to my office, my grandmother was the Hall of Fame MVP of the 1921 state tournament in Iowa. And I have her ball, the ball they used, and I have the little trophy she got, and I have it stacked with some of our Final Four memorabilia from 2023 and 2024. And so my wonder and my amazement from, she got to have that experience in 1921, and Iowa's always been pretty proactive when it comes to women's basketball. Oklahoma has too. They've been one of them, real supportive. But I just think my ride has been amazing because I had a grandmother that played and was kind of a pioneer, and then I kind of followed in her footsteps. And then, I've gotten to be part of 2 ground zeros with Caitlin Clark and the ascension of when the NIL started, and then to have a player like Caitlin. No one really had that at that particular moment of what Caitlin did. And now I'm in the Rev Share ground zero, right? So being at this place in time, I don't know. None of us know exactly how we're going to all do that, right? But to be able to be part of that and trying to figure it out, I think is another cool blessing. And so as I'm looking at the men's regionals that they've played, right, they haven't always been totally sold out either, some of them. And I think sometimes we look and we're like, oh, gosh, always, what the guys are doing. I wonder if you ever flip it back, like what would it be like? There'd be holy heck to pay if we made the men go do this. If we were going to have the men play at a home site, right? Because it's always the money. We can't do it. No one would watch if the women do it. But some of those regionals, you might even spike it if you did it for that, right? So now it's interesting. There's more money. Now, much has been said about, since the COVID year when Sedona Price showed the weight room, all the things, and now it's pretty marketable. And then Caitlin and company blew it out of the water, what could happen if you invested in women's sports. So to your question, I don't know. I mean, it depends. It depends. Our market's pretty on fire. You know, I mean, how blessed am I? Our fan base held and sold out again, right? So I think it'd be an interesting study of the regionals or where the men, and I didn't watch much of the men. I just saw a couple of those early ones where I didn't see a whole lot of sellout fans those first rounds. So I don't know which question should be asked. Is this the model that creates that excitement when you're playing at home and there's a buzz always? Or should we always be pushing, should a road to a national title really go through a home court? I don't know. I mean, that's where we are now. So I just think it's really interesting. But I'd kind of like to see some feasibility studies or fictitious numbers on what projections of the men's flipping it the other way and see what those dollars would be and what the crowd support would be. But then you probably can't really equal it because Oklahoma's tickets are $13 a ticket. I'm pretty sure at those regionals it's not $13 a ticket at wherever, Dayton, Cleveland, or whoever. That's all I got for you, my little non-educated guess of whatever would be. But I find it fascinating. I would love it if women's sports could keep growing. And I'm going to be working on doing my part to continue it. All right. Thanks for covering us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.